Hello lovelies, hello family, this is Kimberly Purpose and welcome to my channel. Today I want to do another video about the American Aborigines. But before we start, I want to tell you about my counseling and wellness business. I have a counseling and wellness business and I am accepting clients. So if you're interested in receiving any type of psychotherapy services, give us a call today. This is me here on Psychology Today. And also, I have a website that you can go to. And I'm pulling it up right now. Here's my website. And this is the About Us page. And also about me. I provide psychotherapy services. I'm also available on BetterHelp. And also, we're in the process of accepting insurance through my company, Purpose Counseling and Wellness Center. So if you all are interested, you can give us a call. Now, let's get started, you guys. Let's go back to this page. I had a hard time looking for this because, well, first of all, I wanted to tell you what we're going to talk about in this video. In this video, we're going to talk about Stone Mountain. Stone Mountain is a destination here for tourists here in Georgia. And I wanted to talk about this because it has a lot of controversy that's going on at the mountain because of the history, the negative history that's portrayed of this, of the Greys, pretty much, Grey supremacy. So, with this video, I wanted to break it up into parts because I found some really good research and articles on this particular subject. So, I think this first video is going to be about what Stone Mountain was all about, the pre-colonialized history that we oftentimes don't hear about. I had to really search for this particular article, sort of hidden with Google. I had to really look around for it, and I found it. Yes. I stumbled across this article written by another Indigenous person who's familiar with the history here with the Southeast Woodlands, and I'm glad I wrote this article. And the second part is going to be, I'm going to do a part 2 to this topic, and that one is going to be about present day, what is going on, pretty much Grey supremacy and why, the origins of the destruction of the mountain, having the natural limestone being blasted and destroyed with the faces of the losers of the war, that took place back in the day. They lost. The Confederates lost, but yet their faces are planted on this mountain. And it's sad that the losers are planted on the mountain. They shouldn't be there. The people that should be there are the indigenous people, if any at all. It's a beautiful, natural spot, and I oftentimes look at it and wonder what it would look like if it without the Greys' faces on it. The losers, and sorry losers at best, they shouldn't be on there. And it was a dark history evil history that should just be forgotten. I wouldn't say forgotten, but you learn from and don't do it again because it's nothing that's beneficial to much of anyone. And so for a small, one group, which is not fair or balanced. And it doesn't protect the nature as a whole, because this is a natural resource of limestone, and it's been destructively had destruction put on it. It's been there for thousands for thousands upon years, and with the Paleo Indians, and it's been tarnished just over a short span of history. Tiny, tiny, tiny fragment of history, that a speck compared to the vast history that occurred prior to colonization. That's been covered up. But I was glad that I found this because I want to show this stone right here. This article that goes more into details, because I was wondering oftentimes what it was like prior to colonization. What was like prior to the graves? What it was like when, when it was untouched, and that's what I want to see. I want to see what it was like prior to Caucasians being here, what it was like when the indigenous Aborigines people that look like me that was here and actually cared about the land and wanted to keep it sacred and pure, just like the Most High had made it to be for thousands upon thousands of years. But it says here, this article it's an older article. It's written November the 3rd, 2016. The title is Sacred Stones and Standing Rock. And I like this picture here. I'm glad it was published here. It showed you what was there. It says here, Old Indian Trail, placed by Baron DeKalb Chapter. And it listed names here. It says Mrs. V.A. Moore and V.T. Region. I think that's what it says. And then the year here, it says 1522. So this tells you what was here prior to colonization. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. There it is right there, 1522. And zoom out. And then Mrs. Dane Burgess, Mrs. William Millen, and some other names here on the other side. But yeah, it's a and then Mrs. A. Wade Regent. So it just tells you right here. And this is DeKalb. Stone Mountain is located in DeKalb County, Georgia, and this is where I reside too. And a lot of American Aborigines, the AKA African Americans, stay here in Stone Mountain. I was looking at the census that was published, and I believe it was roughly 73% American Aborigines here, AKA African Americans. And the natives is a smaller population, a very small population here, but yeah, and I thought that was quite interesting as well. But let's continue. I wanted to show you this. This pretty much tell you Old Indian Trail, what was here prior to the blasting of the graves on the mountain. So anyway, it says here, if you are all considering attending the Indian Festival and Powwow at Stone Mountain Park on November 3rd to the 6th, that was back in 2016. It's going to happen in Standing Rock Sioux Indian Reservation. And then I urge you to please consider donating $15. They talk about donating to Sioux Indian. And then it says here, you might spend on highly commercial event. And he goes on to talk about more about the event. And then to the official Sacred Stone Camp. And it says, I posted on the Pirates Facebook page for events. Will any of you proceeds of the event or snow mountain or seeing waste of water in these times, and any especially during the drought, go towards truly helping and supporting Native Americans like the tribes of Standing Rock and Sioux Indian Reservation. So he's talking about Sioux Indian, but we don't skip on down because my focus here is Stone Mountain. But he did mention something about the powwows at Stone Mountain. This year, I did some research about the powwow for 2021 and was canceled. So I want to let you all know that I found that was canceled. I've been to one before, and it's really fun and very entertaining. I think it's a great place, a great event to go to if you want your kids to go to. They mostly had the Mongoloid Indians, the Mixed Indians, but I would like to see more of the American Aboriginals, the Paleo Indians, to celebrate it as well, because it's part of our heritage as well. Oftentimes we're excluded, but I think it's something that we need to do more and more. I've seen some festivals taking place here in Atlanta. More of us, you're starting to see more of us starting to participate in some of our own events, especially here in South DeKalb. And I'm gonna do another video on that about some of one of the festivals that took place in South DeKalb. But let's continue. It says, there's the theme: Stone Mountain Park lacks historical information. Yes. I agree with this author. I was trying to see if I could find the author's name on here, and I don't see the author's name. Maybe it's at the bottom. But let me scroll down and see if the author's name is on the bottom. I don't see the author's name here. Yeah, I don't see the author's name here, but I'm assuming it's a staff writer, because it's based on, it says here, I am the mountain.org. So maybe it's a staff writer from this particular organization that wrote this article. But anyway, I agree with this author 100%. Stone Mountain does lack a lot of the original history that was, part of this area. You don't see it at all. When you go down there, all you're going to see are Confederacy stuff, things on the graves, which is a small figment, a speck of the history of this particular sacred ground. The Confederacy was only there for maybe 100, 150 years or so, compared to thousands upon thousands of years of the indigenous people. And really, the original people the arts and all the ancient artifacts should be there, so people can hear more about the indigenous people, because the history is so vast compared to the graves that was only there for a speck of period of time, a short time period. That's really only a speck, a spot, compared to the mass historical artifacts of the indigenous people. And really, it's very shameful and very disrespectful that they put a massive picture of the losers of the war, the Civil War, on a mountain when they don't belong there. I think it should be somewhere else, but it doesn't belong on a mountain, especially a sacred place that the indigenous people really cherish. I noticed that a lot of the histories here in Georgia have been tarnished for the indigenous people here. I showed you all Etoile Mound. I wish I took a picture of the plant that's right next to the mound. I believe it was a nuclear plant right next door to the, Etoile Mound, and then the waste from that plant is leaking into Etoile River, and the river looks really bad, very mercury, very dirty and tarnished. And it's just total disrespect towards the indigenous history. That plant could have been built anywhere else. Other places they could have built that, but no, they choose the most historic places, that should be cherished to put these things. And that was done by design to reduce the frequencies or the power of the indigenous people because these things are, people don't realize the importance of these things. Spirituality and the energy, the vibes, connecting with nature. All of those are very important. But let's continue here. It says here are the things that Stone Mountain Park lacks in historical information, for starters, about the Mississippian mound builders and the woodland Indians that once inhabited lands near Stone Mountain, nor about Georgia's once predominated Creek Nation. I talked about them. Y'all might want to check out articles that I discuss about Cree Nation and about very crucial Indian delegation in New York. It is false claim that is far too often repeated, in fact, that Willett ever met with Alexander McGillivray, the Creek Muscogee chief, and other Native American delegates on Stone Mountain. See? It's far too often repeated, in fact, that Willett ever met was Alexander McGillivray, the Creek Muscogee chief, and the native delegates on the Stone Mountain. It is a complete fabrication. See, I heard that story before, and he says it's a lie. And it probably is. Sadly, this meeting eventually resulted in the Creeks faithfully ceding all of their lands to the state of Georgia between 1790 and 1821 via the Treaty of New York and subsequent Treaty of Indian Springs before Indian removal. And see, here there are also little to no information about the park or on the mountain itself, aside from a marker denoting the old Indian trail pictured above, or about how the mountain was once a sacred throughway for Creek and Cherokee Indians, lands that some that know to only recently refer to Creek Treaty lands. See? It has a history. How it was part of their trading route. The Etowah Trails, High Tower Trails, and around the sacred ceremonies they supposedly held at and on the mountain. See, they had sacred ceremonies that were done. All that was done. This was done by design because they wanted to destroy the culture and the history of the indigenous people and put this false narrative of graves being there when they only got there in the late 1800s, late 1700s, 1800s, early 1800s. So they haven't been there long, compared to the rich history of the indigenous people. And it says here, Savannah, CA 1900s, granite boulder from Stone Mountain commemorates the burial in 1739 of Tamachichi chief of Yamacraw Indians, Georgia Archives. So this is one of the pictures here of some of the stones that was used from the mountain for the funeral, for the burial. Let's go back over here. Then it says this information is not available at the Indian powwow either. It's truly unfortunate that nothing was done to preserve or honor any vestiges of Native Americans preserved at the mountain before European settlers arrived to the area. The Industrial Revolution brought the railway and quarry and carving on the mountain first commenced, and Canada had a vision of the theme of the park. Since it became a state-owned theme park in 1958, state ownership of the carvings was early initiated, declared in 1927. Subsequent battles with the Klan over the title ensued, and in 1929 the county got involved to help defend the title, centered around a Confederate monument. It really could do so much better to present a fuller scope of the land's history and that of its very little settlers. Exactly. I agree. And it's sad they would tear up a beautiful sacred ground and put, their pasty faces on there that don't belong there. They got all of Europe, could have put their faces there, where most of their history is from, instead of putting it on the mountain, where the indigenous people actually reside. I think it was used as a ritual to try to empower themselves to be in charge, but their time is up. Eventually, their faces will be diminished off this mountain because it don't belong there. And it says here, James Ossadine, 50, a part-time instructor at the University of Toledo and a member of the Lumbee tribes, regularly participates in the powwow on the mountain and feels the powwow is the park's way of honoring the Native Americans, which is sad. This only happens once a year, you know, and how often the Klansmen be up there. They had that all the time, and then they have the Confederate faces up there all the time in the laser show, which is a joke. I wasn't there before, and it was definitely not nothing to brag home about. And which is celebrated every day, and compared to the one time that the natives are actually there, or the Aborigines. You know, the Aborigines, we see them all the time, you know, living there. But it would be nice if we see more of the Aboriginals and the Mongoloid Indians coming together to feature. It's just really sad. And then on the surface, almost it seems acceptable, but to charge people $15 to get to the park and then another 15 admissions into the powwow, which is greedy, I have to agree. And when honoring Native Americans, the mountain and throughout the park should be, in fact, be free year-round. I agree. Also, I mean, my understanding that Native Americans participate in the festival do not receive any of the proceeds either. And that's true. It goes straight to the park for them, and nothing goes to the indigenous people. And I think if they're going to do the powwows, it should go straight to them. I agree 100%. It says powwows happen across the country, and maybe these events should be considered standing rock. To be fair, I attended the festival in 2014, greatly enjoyed the people I met, such as Jamie Ossadine, in fact, and recognized walking around the mountain yesterday. Their ornate costume, the beautiful dance, and various crafts and teepees and displays for sale. And it does not change the fact that more should be done on an everyday educational level on the part to honor the indigenous who were here first at Stone Mountain in their once always sacred lands. And I agree with this author. But this is Jamie Ossadine, a member of the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina, regularly participates in the Indian Festival and Powwow at Stone Mountain, and this was taken in 2016. Interesting. So, yes, and the article goes on and on. I'm going to go on and show some more of these artifacts that they have here. This is another one. This is about the treaty, which I think is very interesting. It says the Treaty of Indian Springs, 1790. Interesting right here. I may have to look more into that. I can barely read this thing. But it goes into the treaty that was signed. A lot of these things, you know, I don't know if the Indians understood these treaties, you know, because a lot of them didn't even speak English. I would think. I'm not sure, but a lot of, you know, indigenous people, you know, I know signed with the letter S. Dan Calloway talks about it in videos that, you know, the indigenous Aborigines, and the natives, both, you know, had their own languages, and a lot of times they didn't understand the foreigners' language, so they didn't have sign like everybody else, just put an S, and so they might not even understand these treaties. They were forced to sign them. And, you know, and then not only that, they probably changed things or said one thing and actually wrote something totally different in these documents. You know, that's how a lot of Greys operate during this time period. You know, they were very defiant, very mischievous in how they do things. and very crooked. And so they say one thing and actually do the other, you know, smiling in your face while they're doing it. That's why think about how April Fool's Day came about, how they tricked back a lot of Indigenous and giving up a lot of their rights, changing the names, changing identities, stealing identities, stealing land and resources. You know, that was ongoing and still ongoing, and they're doing it through gentrification with the American Aborigines right now. But I can go on and on with this video, and I wasn't intending to be lengthy on it, but this is pretty much the ending of it right here. They're talking more about South Dakota, and he's explaining what he saw in South Dakota. But I want to focus more on the Stone Mountain aspect of what happened, and I oftentimes want to know what happened prior. What did the mountain look like prior to graves being there, and before it being destroyed, you know, tampered with and tarnished by graves. And I think the park will be so much better once they take that, you know, the loser's face off the mountain and just let it be nature, the natural way, how it looked before graves came over here. That would be more ideal. And if they have to put a face on there, put the indigenous people on there. Because they were here first for thousands upon thousands of years. That makes more sense to me. And also some doing their celebrations and the ceremonies prior to graves during the times of the Paleo Indians and the Clovis people that came here and were first. But yeah, I would love to hear what you think about this, you know, the tarnishing of Stone Mountain with the faces of the graves and the losers of the battle. You know, this is the first in history to have losers showing their faces on stuff when it actually should be the winners. You know, better yet, it actually should be the first people who were here, the Aborigines. The Indian faces should be on there. But personally, no faces should be on there. It should just be all natural as far as I'm concerned. But you know, but if you're gonna put anyone's face on it, it should be the Indians. But I would love to hear what you guys think about this article. I'm glad this person did this blog. It was really hard to find this article. It's sort of hidden. And there's a lot of stuff that shows the truth is hidden. You know, sometimes you have to dig and dig until you find the truth, and you know, and get more information. I'm gonna dig some more and see if I can find any more information. But I just wanted to share this with you all, the stone, and if you could look at the date, how long ago all of this took place. You know, this battle was going on for centuries. But please like this video, you guys, and don't forget to subscribe. And till next time, love and peace, family. Bye bye.